Hello all, in this video I am going to explain misplaced modifiers. Before going to this misplaced modifiers, let me give you an example. You will come to know what I am going to teach you further. While hunting in Africa, I shot an elephant in my pyjamas. How an elephant got into my pyjamas, I will never know. So, do you think the sentence is making any sense? Actually, the sentence is a humorous sentence, right? But how can an elephant can be in one's pyjama? I shot an elephant in my pyjamas. How can a person can shoot an elephant in a pyjama? An elephant is not in one's pyjama, right? Okay. So, here the words are jumbled, right? Some words are jumbled, some words are not in the right place to convey the proper meaning. So, those are called misplaced modifiers. The word that is going to modify is called the modifier, and it is placed in a wrong place, right? That is called a misplaced modifiers. Okay, in the sentence above, the phrase in my pyjama actually is the modifier, has been placed at the end of the sentence, apparently modifying the elephant. The elephant in the pyjama. No, actually, that has to place near the I, because the person is in pyjama, right? So, while hunting in my pyjamas in Africa, I shot an elephant. By shifting the modifiers and changing the modifiers and adding some words to the modifiers, we can make a proper sentence. So, I think now you have some idea regarding what are modifiers. So, first let's see what are modifiers. A modifier is a word or a phrase. It can be an adjectival phrase, it can be an adverb, it can be anything. A modifier is a word or a phrase or a class that describes another part of the sentence, and it basically modifies a word or a sentence to make its meaning more specific. In other words, they seem to give a better understanding of a word or a sentence. So, typically the modifiers snuggle right next to, either in front of or behind the word it logically describes. So, it has to situate either near to it, either in front of it or behind the word that it going to modify. Okay, a misplaced, what is that? Misplaced modifier is nothing but we are improperly positioning the modifiers in the sentence to convey, right? That is what the misplaced modifier is. A misplaced modifier is improperly positioned in relation to the word, phrase or clause it is supposed to describe. The main problem with the misplaced modifier is that the person reading the sentence may misinterpret the meaning. How we misinterpret the meaning of the example, whether the person is in pyjama or whether the elephant is in pyjama, we have confused, right? So, placing the modifiers in the right place is very much important. Okay, there are three types of misplaced modifiers. We can misplace the modifiers in this three types. First type is limiting modifiers. This limiting modifiers can be in a word. Most of the time this limiting modifiers in a word, and it restricts the modification, the qualification, the what is that, the usage of the word that it modify. Limiting modifiers impose restrictions on the word they modify, right? So, the most common limiting modifiers are almost, hardly, nearly, just, only, merely, etc. See the example, Martin only eats cakes. That only is a word, but here see it leads to a multiple interpretation. That it is an ambiguous statement actually. Martin only eats cakes. Whether Martin only is eating cake or all his friends are eating cake or his brother is eating cake or anything. That is one interpretation may come. And one more interpretation is Martin only eats cake. He is not touching anything. He is not touching the cake, he is not seeing the cake, he is not baking the cake, he is just eating the cake, right? So, because here that only is not meaning to the cake actually. Why? Because it is there is a distance between this cake and only. I already told you in this limiting modifiers, mostly the modifiers should place near to the word that it modifies. Here the only is a modifier that has to modify the cake, not the Martin, neither the eats. Actually, it has to modify the word cake. So, it has to place near to the cake. Why? Because the actual intention of the sentence is Martin eats only cakes. He is not eating anything other, only cake, right? So, this is ambiguous if the intended meaning is that Martin eats nothing but cakes. But the sentence could mean that Martin does not do any other thing to the cake, example, bake them or touch them or anything. So, that leads to a misinterpretation, right? So, be careful with the word only, which is a type of limiting modifiers. Okay, what may be the right sentence? Martin eats only cakes. Actually, so the modifier should place near to the word that it modify in limiting modifiers. Okay, limiting modifiers can be fixed by changing the words, changing the modifiers inside the sentence itself. Okay, let's go for the second type of modifier, squinting modifier. So, squinting modifier may be a class. Squinting modifiers, most of the time it is a class. It will be like a class and phrase it is. A squinting modifier makes the meaning of a sentence ambiguous. The entire sentence meaning itself will come to misinterpretation. Okay, because it is unclear whether the modifier modifies the text before it or after it. We will get the confusion whether the modifier is modifying the text or the word or a phrase before it or after it. See the first sentence. Andrew said after the holiday he intends to stop drinking. Actually, the intention of the sentence is Andrew is going to stop drinking after the holidays. Andrew is not going to say that he is not going to stop he is going to stop drinking after the holidays, right? So, here the after the holiday we will get confused, either it is modifying Andrew said or his intention. He is saying or his intention. He is not, whether he is going to stop drinking after holidays or whether he is going to say whether he is going to stop or not after the holidays. We are getting confusion on it, right? So, here the modifier is misplaced. So, how can we how can we make the sentence correctly? By shifting the modifiers, rewording the modifiers. See, after the holiday Andrew said that he intends to stop drinking, right? Okay. So, these have been fixed by rewording the sentence and putting some distance between the modifiers and modifies and the text that it going to be modified. Okay. So, there should be a distance, between the wrong misinterpretation sentence and the modifiers, right? Okay. Let us go for the third type of modifiers, dangling modifiers. So, this dangling modifiers are also like a phrase or a clause form. A dangling modifier is the modifier that has nothing to modify. It will be like this, there won't be anything inside the sentence that looks like the modifiers are modifying anything, right? It may be look like a separate sentence joined together with incorrect meaning exactly. It leads to a complete ambiguous and it makes the sentence also grammatically incorrect sometimes. A dangling modifier is an error caused by failing to use the word that the modifier is meant to be modified. So, there won't be any sentence the actual modifier is modifying, that word or a phrase will not be in the sentence. See, for example, having read your letter, my parrot has since died. What is this? Having reading letter, parrot died. See, there is no relationship between these two, but by adding because the having read your letter, the modifier is nothing. There is nothing is there in the sentence to modify, right? But so we have to add such words. Having read your letter, I would like to inform you that my parrot has since died. Right? See here the word that having read your letter, the modifier is going to modify the word I would like to, I, the person I, but here that itself is missing. So, this is dangling modifiers. So, see the next sentence, having read the book, the film will be a hit. But the right thing is, the sentence is, having read the book, I think the film will be hit. So, who is reading the book here? Not the film, not a hit or somebody else. Actually, that I should be there. So, we have to add the phrase, right, to modify. These have been fixed by introducing the thing being modified into the sentence. We have to introduce the thing that has to be modified. Remember that they were missing from the originals. It won't be there. So, these are dangling modifiers. Okay, let me give you some examples for that for the clearance. See the first statement. Gazing out the window, Paul missed the homework assignment that Professor Zuromsky wrote on the board. So, who is gazing out the window? Paul. Why? Because the modifier gazing out the window is placed near to the Paul. This is a perfect meaning. Gazing out the window, the person who is gazing out the window is Paul, missed the homework assignment that professor wrote on the board. It is a right thing. The gazing out of the window is a participle phrase describing Paul that now follows. It is near to the word. But see the second sentence. Churning in the Atlantic Ocean, we anxiously watched the weather weather report for information about the hurricane. How can a person can be churning in the Atlantic Ocean? Hurricane can be churned in the Atlantic Ocean. A person cannot be churning in the Atlantic Ocean. So here, there in the previous sentence, gazing out the window, the near, it modifies the next word Paul. Right, usually modifiers modify the nearest word itself. So gazing out the window, Paul missed. The person who is gazing out the window is Paul, so he is missing the homework. Churning in the Atlantic Ocean, we anxiously watched. Do we churning in the Atlantic Ocean? A human can churn in the Atlantic Ocean. So churning in the Atlantic Ocean is a participle phrase which is located near to the we, but actually it is not modifying we, right? So in the current sentence, it is describing the pronoun we. How illogical it is, right? So the right sentence is, we anxiously watched the weather report for information about the hurricane churning in the Atlantic Ocean. Actually, the hurricane is churning in the Atlantic Ocean, right? So it is exactly misplaced. So we have to change. We changed the modifiers, the participle modifiers from one place to another to make the sentence a perfect sense. Let's go for the next. Third sentence. See, it is in the right form. Sam gobbled the sandwich which was soggy with tomato juice as he rushed to class. So Sam gobbled the sandwich which was, so here the modifier which was soggy with tomato juice, it is located near to sandwich. So obviously it modifies the which is the adjective phrase which is modifying the sandwich. Adjective phrase are usually modifies another verb as another noun, right? So which was soggy with tomato and juice, actually which was soggy with tomato juice, the sandwich was soggy with tomato juice. So the modifier is near to the word that it modifying. So it is a perfect sentence. But see the next sentence, Raymond wore his one-collared shirt to the job interview which was unfortunately stained with yellow mustard. The job interview was stained with yellow mustard or the white collar or the one-collared shirt. Actually the one-collared shirt is stained, not the job interview stained. So it has to place in another place. It is misplaced now. Which was unfortunately stained with yellow mustard is an adjective class actually. In the sentence above, it is describing the interview, noun in front of it, but it is not an interview, right? It is the shirt which was stained. So the right placement is, Raymond wore his yellow collared shirt which was unfortunately stained with yellow mustard to the job interview. So by changing those phrases, we can get the right sense. So incorrect sentence again, the last one. Professor Jones, who was late with another essay, waited for the slacker students. How can a professor can be late with another essay actually? No, it's illogical. Slacker students can be late with their essays, right? Okay. So who was late with another essay is an adjective clause. In this, the sentence is describing the Professor Jones. Actually, the sentence is supposed to modify the slacker students there. So it is misplaced. So again, we have to change the place of the modifiers. So the right statement is, Professor Jones waited for the slacker student who was late with the another essay. So these are the misplaced modifiers, nothing but we have to place the phrase, words or these modifiers in the right place that it modifies. Then every sentence makes sense. So thank you. If you have any doubt, kindly let me know. Let me clarify it. Thank you.